It's a beautiful day for karting here at the Spa karting track. My name's Chris Paul, and what we have coming up for you is exciting ACK racing. It's rental karting, and we're taking this fantastic 1,100 metre track. We're halfway through the championship now as we enter round 6 of the championship, and things are getting tighter at the top than ever with Jim Paris' lead. But for how much longer? It's been 4 different winners across the first 5 rounds of the championship so far. And joining me in the broadcast room today for the very first time is Gabriel Quinter. Gabriel, how are you?
Well, I'm really looking forward to this one, Chris. As you've mentioned, we've had 4 different winners in the first 5 races so far. We've seen some exceptional wheel-to-wheel racing, including in today's sprint and B final. The championship continues to be wide open, of course, with the top 5 drivers only separated by 15 points. And as you mentioned, last season's champion, Jim Paris, is leading the way. But I'm sure every driver in that top 5 and beyond will be looking to change that as we prepare for today's A final.
Yes, absolutely. So, we've seen so much racing already today, and we've got to catch you up on all the action. So we've had a Jim Paris win already in the first sprint race, and going to the second sprint race, we had Soren. So they will be occupying the front row today so far. Gabe, give us a recap on what you think's happened so far.
Well, we've seen a lot of action going on in the sprints. We've seen plenty of accidents going on as well. We've seen many drivers trying to go wheel to wheel and it not happening. We've seen the usual dominant drivers of the championship shine through and show why they're so talented. We've basically had a lot of action going on today, especially in that B final. We had a super close fight, some iffy moments in the pit lane, but everything's been settled on the last few laps to bring home some very entertaining racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking towards the championship now, Soren is a fantastic competitor for the championship, and as a driver like this, it's going to be close for Jim Paris, I would say, at the moment. We're just looking through the order now, and there's a lot of surprise entries as well into this A final. You've got Benjamin Hamilton. Now, Benjamin Hamilton, a relatively new driver to the championship, but he's starting 5th on the grid. And whilst I got to mention this, we're doing a bit of a different sort of ordering to today's race. So the drivers will be doing a rolling start. Now, what this means is Jim Paris and Soren on the front row will lead the drivers round for a warm-up lap where drivers can warm their tyres and get used to the car, and then we will start the race with a rolling start over this line. What you can see now, where the drivers are stationary. Looking at it's esports racing, so we're expecting drivers to follow the rules and hopefully get a good start. But I'm not sure what's going to happen here. What we have talked about, at least in the race director thing, is that if it goes bad, then we're going to revert to a standing start. So it's on to the drivers really to get it right. What do you think, Gabe?
Yeah, I mean, rolling starts definitely present a new challenge for all the drivers within the championship. Obviously, every race in this championship so far has been a grid start, and rolling starts can sometimes produce better racing. They sometimes can't. So we'll just have to see how the drivers learn to adapt to it, how they're warming their tyres, how they're preparing their karts, because it can all make a difference to that first lap, which is so crucial, as we all know. You can't win a race on the first lap, but you can certainly lose it. So preparing for it is one of the most important things you can do.
We have seen grid starts rolling starts, should I say, in the past. We had KZR, which is the fantastic indoor track made by Pierre Ligeot, the creator of this car. We have seen it in season 1, but it did present its own issues. Drivers just not respecting that single file order. Now it's a 2x2 racing start. How I see it going is the drivers are going to be loading each other and maybe even someone spin out. But we're seeing race direction try and control this, but ultimately it's going to be up to the drivers to make it a good experience. But we saw anyway in the B final, we saw a great B final. We have to say it was off stream, but it was a fantastic B final to watch. But Georgi Iliev and Baptista van der Beek, a driver who you wouldn't really expect to be in the B final, but he did actually start last today because he spun out on his qualifying lap. That must have been a very frustrating experience. So we're only 30 seconds away now from the race start, but we're going to have a bit of a slow start because the drivers are going to have to complete 1 lap before we get through to this final race. So we're expecting great racing here, and the championship being closer than ever. There is 2 drop rounds as well, so we're going to be expecting all sorts of racing. But there are 6 lights on those, but it's going to be a bit unprecedented now as we're going to see the drivers go around. We're not sure how fast they're going to go around. 2 minutes have been added on to the race time in expectance for these drivers to get around. So as you can see, the drivers are going away. So it's a single file order, is what we've been told at least. And the drivers, yes, they are now in a single file order going the track. So they have to get back into a 2x2 order for the start of the race. Now, will all the drivers follow these orders? I'm not sure, to be honest with you, at the moment. But we will see, as we do have 14 drivers in this A file. There is a lot of points at stake. So as they come around, I'm not sure what to think, Gabe. What do you think about this start?
I don't know, these rolling starts, as I've mentioned, they can be quite chaotic, especially with 15 drivers out on the track. I mean, Spa is one of the larger tracks we visit on the calendar, so they've got plenty of space to correct themselves, get themselves ready before everything. But as you mentioned as well, a lot of loading can happen, anything can really happen on these rolling starts. And something a bit off the topic I'd like to mention is one of the drivers we briefly mentioned earlier, Baptiste, who qualified for this A final by finishing in the top 2 in the B final. He's actually one of the drivers using a controller. He's actually not playing on a wheel,
yeah.
So very good talent from him to be able to drag that car from last in the B final up to a top 2 position. I'm loving to see how he's going to be able to perform in this A final.
Yes, you're right, and as we said, massively out of position. The fantastic Baptiste van der Broek, a successful driver in real karting, let alone in this space. So here we are then, we're on for the 2x2 start. They have been instructed where to start. It's a bit messy. We see a driver spin around the back, Pierre Ligio. Is this going to affect the race start? As we come around now, Jim Paris will lead them from the inside line this time. Pierre Ligio, will he get back inside in time? I'm not sure, but we did expect that. A driver spinning out on the race start. Here we go. We're going across the line, and the race, to be honest with you, starting just on time, 25 minutes in, but we are underway now. This is the race start. Let's go down to the first corner. Let's see what happens. Jim Paris leads us away from Soren, from Nico Titch. All the championship contenders at the front. Benjamin Hamilton straight into fourth and drops back again. And it's all, they're 3 wide going through the first corner. As we need that, Jim Paris is now getting a clear gap out in front. Now, drivers can pit immediately, so will some drivers choose to go for the joke lap immediately? As we see a bit of loading there from Georgie there. Georgie there from 12th all the way up to 9th already, and a minute spin there as Linux has dropped down the order from 3rd, as we see lots of space being given, and there's a big crash in the back. Yes, Gabriel.
Big contact. Yeah, we see drivers replicating an incident that's happened at this very corner in real life between a world champion and some other drivers. But yeah, the usual chaos expected on the first lap. Lots of drivers loading each other, everyone trying to get into a good position, and that's what the result is. But as we see, the top 2 at the front are nose to tail heading into completing the final lap. We are still seeing Jim Paris in the lead, followed by Soren, but I'm not sure he's got that much of a comfortable lead anymore, Chris.
Yes, we see drivers now in single file. Now, you've got to start thinking about your pit stops now. This is the most important factor. So we're going to see it's Jim Paris from Soren, Nico Titch in 3rd, a regular position for Nico Titch. He wants to win a race, but at the moment he is sitting only in 3rd place. Jan Lehmann's 2nd in the championship and only 4th on track. He will want to make the positions too. As we see Benjamin Hamilton in 5th, the fantastic Benjamin Hamilton, driving really well. In the B final last week and this week he's recovered really well. Pierre Ligio up to 8th at the moment. Barry T on his ACK debut, making the A final. Fantastic from him. And we have to mention Saeed Hassan. Saeed Hassan has had some of the worst luck, I would say, in ACK, with multiple failures, in qualifying and having issues in sprint races. Now he's finally in the A final, where he thinks he deserves to be. As we see the drivers now come round to start the 3rd lap of this race at the moment. So let's get them as they cross the line. Jim Paris is leading from Soren, Nico Titch in 3rd, Jan Lehmann's in 4th, fantastic Benjamin Hamilton in 5th, Linux on his debut in 6th, George Iliev, he got promoted for the B final, he's up to 7th position, fantastic to see. But are we seeing some drivers in the pits, Gabriel?
We haven't seen any action in the pit lane. Actually, no, I tell a lie. I believe we've seen Baptiste in the pit lane.
Yes.
Right far back. Yeah, he's dropped right far back. These pit stops are strategic. He's come in early. He started at the back. You would expect that sometimes. So yeah, good pit stop potentially there from Baptiste. He hasn't lost too much time, but he's got plenty of clear air now, which is the main thing. As the leaders continue to battle at the front, he might actually gain quite a bit, and I think there might have just been a bit of contact in that braking zone again. I'm not too sure.
Yes, I saw this too. What we're going to see is a lot of action now in this midfield. We're going to expect drivers to drive together. They've got the slipstream on each other, so we're going to expect them to drive together. But Benjamin Hamilton's probably the first driver that you think he's not. He's just pulling the drivers behind along. He's not really benefiting from it himself. So will he think to just pit and stop pulling the drivers ahead along? As we see now, Soren go with Jim Paris, and Soren not really thinking about the move. He does put his nose on the inside. That's because he's taking better entry speed. Now Jim Paris is under a lot of pressure, and he is actually defending, interestingly enough, as well. Jim Paris is. So he's trying to force drivers behind the pit and say, "Hey, I'm not working with you here. I'm willing to defend and pull us back through the order." You know, these benefit the drivers such as Baptiste, who has already pitted. He could come out in a higher position because of that. Jim Paris does take the racing line now, though, through the next section. Great racing so far. We see a move at the back just on George Iliev. That looked like it was Saeed Hassan. The move looked okay from my side. As Soren now goes with Jim Paris, as they have broken away slightly from Nico Titch. Will we see any pit stops on this lap? At the moment, the top three, no pit from them. As we follow more drivers through, will anybody go for the stop? No, nobody is stopping. George Iliev next across. No stop from him either. Fantastic to see so far.
I mean, we're watching these two at the front, Soren and Jim going for it, but Nico could really benefit from this if these two end up clashing with each other, or if he just pulls his pit stop strategy right. He could potentially jump these two drivers, not even just him. Jarne Lemmens, he's right behind these lot. These lot need to be careful and make sure they're working together and not letting drivers take too much of an advantage. Although Jim Paris, he's not defending these laps, he's leaving a lot of trust in Soren here, but it could go wrong, it could go right. We just need to wait and see.
Yes, absolutely. So there's only 20 minutes left in this race. I say 20 minutes, it feels like it's been an hour so far. It's been fantastic racing, I would say, at the moment. Very little contact between drivers, but that's what Spa's all about. It's a big open track and drivers are expected to drive with it. Now, will Soren think to pit this lap? No, he doesn't. He is going with Jim Paris. As we're waiting for the other drivers, will anybody pit? Benjamin Hamilton on his own at the moment with no drivers behind or in front of him. Does not pit. He is comfortable with the gap he has. Next driver across the pit lane will be Saeed Hassan. Does he decide to pit? No, he doesn't. At the moment, Baptiste van der Breggen now across the pit line. So that's the standard at the moment. The drivers deciding not to pit and just work together. So we're going to see. I think it's going to be a very intense. I think it's going to be a very intense race for the win here, as Jim Paris and Soren surely will drive on alternate strategies. I would be very surprised if they go in the pits together in this race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're looking further down the order. You can see Baptiste, I believe he's already gained a few positions just from that pit stop from people battling in front of him. So, you know, if these two aren't careful, they could lose. They could have the same problem of drivers behind pitting. I know I've already brought it up before, but they need to make sure they are working together, as they've gone a bit wide there, Soren. So maybe the pressure's starting to get to them. You know, leading these races, Jim Paris is going to be well aware that the gap in the championship between the top 5 is only 15 points. He knows he cannot afford to make any mistakes. One mistake could mean the end of his championship campaign. We're only at round 6, but every point matters in these type of things. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the rest of the race unfolds. If we look further down the order as well, there is some further fights going on, but up here at the front it's relatively calm now, but these two are still trying to get every ounce of performance they can out of these karts.
Well, as you said, I've been studying the lap times a little bit here. Baptiste van der Breggen is actually 2/10 faster than the drivers around him at the moment, so it looks like he's going to be comfortably pitting ahead of them at the moment. As we're seeing a bit of fighting up ahead at the moment, you know, some of the drivers who qualify particularly well into the A final are starting to drop back now, as the drivers such as Baptiste are coming through the order. The driver I'm most impressed with at the moment, though, is definitely George Iliev. He's driven very well at the moment, sitting in 7th place. He's got to do his stops, but at the moment it's looking good for him. As we see the leaders now, they're going to start lap 8, the fastest lap at the moment, going to Soren with a 58.328, but that would be expected given he is towing off Jim Paris. As Jim Paris says go, no, Soren actually takes the fast lap with a 58.275, which is 2/10 quicker than Nico Titch, and you can see that on track as well. But looking back down the order, Baptiste van der Breggen, we're just waiting for him to come through again, because I want to see how fast he really is going, as now he's about to cross the line, and compared to the drivers in front, yes, he does. He goes a whole second faster than the drivers in front. So Baptiste is a driver we need to be watching, because he is flying through the order at the moment, and it's fantastic to see. So, as we go now, with 17 minutes to go, there's so many pit stops still to go. At the moment, we're looking through race control, and there seems to be a investigation at the moment. We're not sure on who, as it hasn't been named, and I haven't seen anything at the moment. We're just now passing the pit lane, so let's see if anybody pits this lap. We're not seeing Jarne Lemmens doesn't pit. Benji Hamilton does not pit either. He's going along with the rest of the drivers. All the drivers in front, nobody wants to pit. Now, this is going to be an interesting last 10 minutes of this race. If nobody wants to pit now, I'm going to be very surprised to see how it goes towards the end. Said Hassan past the pit lane. And now, Baptiste van der Breggen, who is behind Said Hassan, is a second faster last lap. So they're going to come through again. It looks like Baptiste has actually closed the gap once again. Mind you, this is on a controller. He is driving faster than Said on a controller. So we're going to look now. Baptiste van der Breggen goes across line, and yes, he is 2.3 seconds faster on that lap than Said Hassan in front, and he's right on the back of him now. As we just go back to the lead at the moment, and we're going to wait for these drivers now to cross the line. All the drivers, though, they don't want to pit, and this is going to create a very interesting dynamic in the last moments of the race. So let's follow them through now. Jim Paris and Nico Titch, they decide not to pit. Nico Titch doesn't pit. Jarne Leemans doesn't pit, and Benji Hamilton also doesn't pit. So the top 5 still continuing just to go together. As we see, yes, nobody else pits either. So fantastic to see so far.
Yeah, like you've mentioned, with these pit stops, it's going to get quite chaotic at the end at this rate. We've seen it happen in real-world karting events where pit stops being left at the last minute have cost people championships. So these guys need to make sure they aren't going to start tripping over each other in the pit lane. They don't have to stop, which will prevent any major issues, but you know, they're going to need to be careful when they're coming into this pit lane to not just pile into each other. But you know, as you've mentioned, the front two, they're just keeping the gap the same. They're kind of in a world of their own, to be honest, or in a class of their own. I mean, Jim Paris is last season's champion. As I mentioned, he knows he's leading this championship. He doesn't look like he's feeling any of the pressure, though, and Soren just seems to be comfortable sitting behind him. As we've mentioned, further down the field, we've got Nico Tick and Jarne Leemans there again, just cruising along, waiting for these pit stops to begin. So everything's quite tame so far. I must say, though, Baptiste for me has got to be the driver of the day so far. With the lap times he's setting, especially playing on a controller, it's incredible to see. Starting from last in the B final, getting promoted into the A, and making his way up the order. It does show how diverse the championship is as well, and that truly anyone can take part.
Absolutely, and you know, just looking at the moment, Baptiste van der Breggen does come in for his next stop. So Baptiste has come in, so we're going to see where he comes out now. It looks like he's going to come out just behind Pierre Liggio, which will slow him down frustratingly. But Pierre Liggio, you know, quite a fair driver. He will go with him, I'm sure, at the moment. As we now look towards the driver. And also, what you do mention there, Gabe, is yes, I think all the drivers are waiting for each other to pit. I think they don't want to pit, and they're waiting for that first person to pit at the moment. As we see now, they will come across the pit lane. And no, from Nico Titch, he stays out. Jarne Leemans next. He stays out. Next,
we've seen a move. Seen a move.
Oh, that's a move there. That's Baptiste van der
Beautiful
Breggen on a mission. As Lennox has slowed down there, and he's actually let him back through. Interestingly from Lennox. Weird bit of maybe he spun out. I'm not sure. As Benji Hamilton's in the pits now, we've just seen. So Benji Hamilton taking his first pit stop. He looks like he's going to come out again in just a safe 5th position, but he's pulled the pin now. So will that trigger other drivers to go? I'm not sure really. Benji was on his own the whole time. He wasn't really fighting anyone up ahead, but he's got the worry of the drivers behind. That's probably the only thing at the moment.
Yes, as you mentioned, I mean, Benji Hamilton was sort of in like a class, or sort of in a world of his own there. He wasn't really fighting with the top 5, so I'm not sure if that will trigger anything further up the field. But just looking back on that move that Baptiste made on Pierre Liggio de Santa, what a great move that was. Just late on the brakes, committed to it, sent a nice dive bomb. I'm not sure what occurred with the driver ahead. Now we're seeing Harry Power send another move on the same corner. It's looking like a very feisty corner going on. And Pierre Liggio de Santa going for it again on Lennox. But he hasn't made it stick. So yeah, a lot of stuff starting to kick off there, specifically in this corner, with it being one of the main braking zones on the track. We're starting to see some action now in midfield. Yep, side by side again, Harry Power. He's going to make this stick. Oh no, Harry Power straight into the pit lane. So no, Said Hassan now takes leadership over Harry Power. But yeah, nice bit of action we've just seen kick off there.
Baptiste, yes, Baptiste, he's hit the chicane. Oh, and that's ruined his progress in his final. Now, we were talking to Baptiste about this. He keeps hitting that chicane, and he's done it now. Oh, once again, you got to feel for Baptiste, all that work, all those overtakes, it feels like it's gone back down the drain. He will be very frustrated with that. But, you know, this format is brutal, and he decided to spin out his qualifying, which led to him having to fight through that sprint race, to fight through the B final, to fight his way up the A final. Really, you look at Baptiste van der Breggen and how good he is. He should have been in that top 8 anyway. So it just goes to show with this format, all that work can go down the drain. as now we're going through with Jim Paris and Soren once again. And we're at the point now, it's 12 minutes to go in this race. You know, these two drivers, who will pull first? Will Soren go in and try and get the undercut? Or will Jim Paris just try and cover it off by going first? We're not sure. Soren does stick his nose at them, but I think he's... and that's Baptiste on the grass.
Again? Baptiste again! He's spun again! The drive, I mean, all of this just come to show how accurate these drivers are having to be once they're driving, you know? We're looking at them and we might think this is really easy to just be going around at this pace, but to be this consistent and going around at this speed is definitely a challenge. I mean, these front two are pulling off a great job at it, but you have to feel for Baptiste. He was doing such a great job.
Oh, here we go!
It's going to move! Soren's going for it!
And Jim covers it off. Yes, Jim does cover it off. Sorry to cut you off there, Gabe. But we're seeing now Nicotic really, maybe if Nicotic saw that a bit earlier, maybe he goes for the pits. Soren did try, and you can't blame him. He's been driving around with for 13 minutes. It's a great chance there for Soren to take the lead. But Jim now starting to get a bit thin on those corners. He's going a bit tighter each time. Maybe he's now starting to get away. Will he defend? Yes, he does. Nicotic should. Oh, no, he does go to the racing line. There's a bit of trust there. Maybe it's just Jim's way of saying, hey, we're still working together here. We can do our racing in the last few minutes. And Soren now goes through.
Oh, Soren's good.
Yes.
He's done it. Soren's made his way through after so many laps of working with the leader, Jim Paris. Soren showed the nose at the first chance he got. Didn't quite make it stick. Second opportunity, he made a beautiful move stick at one of the most popular overtaking points on the track. What is Jim Paris going to do to react now? Will he come to feel like Soren in the pits?
Yes, he goes in. Oh, well, that was interesting to see. Now, Jim Paris, this is now where Jim Paris has to drive as fast as he can. But we're going to see Soren come out. Is he going to come out in front of Baptiste? It does look like it for now, but Baptiste is going to go through. This is where it's going to get really tight. And they go ahead now. Soren's in trouble. The driver who just took the lead of the race decides to pit on the very next lap. And now he's in a fight with Jan Leemans. This has gone completely wrong. Poor Soren at the moment.
It really had, Chris. This is not what Soren would have wanted at all. I'm not too sure why he decided to pit on that lap. If he'd stayed out for a few more laps, he could have maybe just opened up that gap with Jim. But this has potentially completely destroyed his race. Him, Jarne and Baptiste are all now fighting, but Soren will be extremely frustrated just to try and get past these drivers as quickly as possible. But this could have potentially thrown away his chance of winning today. However, it's happened to Soren. There's nothing to say it can't happen to Jim Paris.
Yes, well, Nicotic will be the driver that I would say has benefited the most from this at the moment. As we now see Soren, he does make the overtake on Jan Leemans. Will they work together? That's the question. As Jan does actually get an outside sort of sniff here to stay in that position, but he's got to give space on the inside, and he does for the most part. Soren is going to cover off, and that's absolutely fine. Good move from there. Now Baptiste van der Breggen has to get out of the way, and he does. Fantastic to see from Baptiste. Great sportsmanship there from the controller driver, as Lanex will be the next driver through now, and he should also be giving it away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just still reflecting on what Soren has done to himself here. He could have really cost himself the opportunity, but it's really good to be seeing such good sportsmanship from the other drivers, letting the leaders through and to continue with their own race. But we tune back in now with Jim Paris. He's going to be a happy man now. He's got all the track he could want in front of him. No more pressure from behind. He can just focus on getting down these consistent lap times and making sure he builds up the gap. But another driver you mentioned, Chris, that has now been thrown into the equation is Nicotic. I mentioned earlier that Jim and Soren might trip over each other. This could be what Nico has been waiting for. He might be able to squeeze into the lead here. It might be very optimistic, but second place now looks like a comfortable option for him if this battling continues.
Well, we're just studying the lap times here. So Jim Paris is on his last lap, 59.1. Nicotic with a 58.9, so 2 tenths faster than Jim Paris. And finally Soren with a 58.7. He was 4 tenths, almost half a second faster than Jim Paris on the last lap. Probably, I just saw
bit of a spin there, sorry.
Yeah, but black marker Lennox probably trying to get out of the way there. Very unlucky from him. And he's disconnected from the server as well. He hits finish for today. Unlucky from Lennox. But he was going around the back. He was letting drivers through. It's understandable that he wants to end his day there early. So let's recap from the top a little bit. So we've got Jim Paris is leading. He needs to make 2 stops in this race. And he currently just crossing the line now. His lap time is a 58.6, which is exactly what he needs to do, as Nicotic does also respond with the same lap time, 58.6. Soren with a 58.8 actually drops 2 tenths on the lap, so he's actually lost half of the gap he made up from the last lap. We've got Jan Leemans in 4th, George Iliev in 5th, but I believe he needs to stop, and I think he has. George Iliev, in fact, has completed his first stop as we now come around. Saeed Hassan has to take stops. Benji Hamilton, I believe, has just finished his last stop, so he's got 2 stops, Benjamin Hamilton. But at the moment, he looks like he's in a net 5th position as we come through. So we've only got 6 minutes left, and drivers, they have to take the 2 stops within their good time. So we're not sure how close it's going to be at the moment. But I would say Jim Paris needs to pit in probably the next 4 minutes. He needs 2 minutes to clear 2 pit stops. He needs to get around the lap twice.
No, Jim Paris, he's in a position where he knows he's in control of this race. He'll be thinking about when he's going to be doing his pit stops. He might even not be thinking about the racing anymore. He's in that much control. He's got a comfortable lead. Yes, Nico Tick has occasionally been faster, but I don't think he has anything to worry about at this point. Unless Soren can pull something out of the bag here, or Nico can start setting some blisteringly quick laps, I think Jim Paris has potentially bagged this one. But it's not how we would have wanted to see it. We would have loved to see Soren up here at the moment, fighting with the championship leader. But unfortunately, driver mistakes happen. But Jim Paris says he will be a happy man looking back on all of this, and will just be cruising along now.
Well, this will be interesting though. Jim Paris actually has 2 back markers who are fighting in front of him, just under Martin Chepelot, the fantastic Martin Chepelot, must I add, and Barry T. Barry T, a new driver to the championship as well. So welcome, of course, to Barry, and hopefully we see you at more rounds this year. But they're battling. Jim Paris is catching this. What's he do? As Nico Ticci actually is in right now, and he drops in just behind Soren. Not by that.
Oh, big crash in the pit lane.
Baptiste into the pit lane and into the wall. They're very unlucky. He needs to get out of the way as Jan Leemans. That must have been Baptiste's 3rd pit stop, I think, at this point. Back to what I was saying. We see Martin Chepelot and Barry T fighting in front. Yes, and Jim Paris is there. Leading this race. Soren has actually come out in front of Nico Titch, but he's a lot closer to Nico Titch than when he went in. As we're seeing this battling now, and Jim Paris will be getting frustrated seeing this. He's thinking, do I pit, or do these guys keep fighting as we go through? If these guys make contact, this could prove very bad for Jim Paris. Now, Jim Paris has to make a decision here. What decision will he make? Jim Paris decides to go in. Yes, here we go. The lead is in. Now, we're going to find out how much of a lead he's managed to build. As he comes to the corner, you've got to be pinpoint accurate on the brakes there. Touches the wall and he spins around.
Hits the barrier. What
Jim
a
Paris.
moment.
What
the championship leader. The championship leader, the one man you would expect to not make a mistake like that, has made one of the most catastrophic mistakes you will likely see of the season. The reigning champion, the man who's known for his consistency, his drive, his lack of mistakes, has just made one of the biggest mistakes we've seen in this event so far. This could have massive implications for this race result. He's dropped back almost behind Jarne Leemans after that, but this brings Soren right back into the equation, and Nico Tick. Nico Tick has benefited a lot from this, and most of all, Soren, he finds himself back in the race lead.
Oh, Jim Paris, he's going to be kicking himself. He's had some very unlucky form recently, but that has to top it. Leading a race, very clearly in the lead there from Jim Paris. He had nothing to do but just put in the lap after lap after lap, and he lost what I can see here. 9 seconds. He does pit again, and will he make the same mistakes? It looks like he doesn't want to go too frustrated here. Yes, there we go. Much better from Jim Paris. He didn't have to risk it, but he did.
Yeah, I mean, when you're always at the top of the field, you're always going to go for those risks. That's just the mentality you have. And sometimes you're going to have these mistakes. They'll be rare, but they will creep through sometimes. And it's a shame that we've seen this happen now with Jim Paris. Is, such a dominant driver. You wouldn't expect it, but these things happen. I mean, it's changed the top 3 completely for us, though. We can now have a new race leader, Soren, taking over this race lead. It's completely changed what could happen here. Jim is going to be fuming with himself, though. He's going to be trying everything he can to claw back into the top 3. But we've seen it happen with Jim. There's nothing to say it can't happen with any of the other drivers.
Yes, absolutely. And as we see now, the drivers come through the section now. It's Soren in the lead from Nico Titch. And we see at the moment Baptiste van der Brugge, he is just not letting Jan Lemmens through. Now, I was just picking up on this on the stream. Now, Baptiste does need to get out of the way of Jan at the moment, because what it does appear what is happening, and I want Race Control to hear this, is it feels like Baptiste is pulling along Jan Lemmens for better lap times, because I did notice that Baptiste actually took a third pit stop, which does give away that he could be like just giving away his result for the benefit of Jan Lemmens. Now, not sure why, because it was clear to Benjamin Hamilton as it was. Though at the moment it appears that Jan Lemmens does have to take one more stop, but it does seem like Baptista is essentially pulling the driver along with the slipstream. So is this going to be investigated, I wonder, by the team? The team do need to hear about this, and I wonder if they are listening to the stream. But what we'll do is we'll ignore this for now, and we'll move through the rest of the field. Gabriel.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we'll try and move on from it, but we know these two are quite good friends, so they could be doing that, they could be not, but it's certainly an odd sight to see. But Jim Paris will be watching this and thinking, what on earth is going on? As I believe there might have just been a message. Yes, Baptiste has been removed. He's been removed from the race. So this might not only play into Jim Paris' hands, but it leaves Jan Lemmens very exposed now if that is what they were doing.
Yes, it does. And there's only a minute to go in this race now. That will go down as a not following the blue flag protocol, which is in place for the rules for all drivers. As we see now, the drivers come through. Now, Soren hasn't pitted yet, but it looks like he's going to do that on the last lap here, and Nico Titch. At least I'm under the belief that they both still have to stop, but we'll find out in a minute. Jan Lemmens also might be in that same position. I'm not too sure. But Jim Paris is now coming through in 4th position. I believe that Jan Lemmens has to stop again. We'll find out any second now. But it's been a fantastic A final so far. I'll probably take away that driver of the day vote from Baptiste, given his antics with the blue flags. But looking down the field at the moment, these drivers, I have to give mine to either George Iliev or Benjamin Hamilton. What about you, Gabe?
Yes, Chris, I was about to say, I mean, I know you said earlier that you were very impressed by Georgie, so I think it has to go to them. If there's a driver of the day from us up in the commentary box, it has to go to Georgie. They've driven extremely well, made some good points here, and they've just made no mistakes. However, we're tuning back in with the race leader now, Soren. I'll let you take over to finish this race, Chris.
Yes, absolutely. Now, a driver that did make a big mistake, but he's come back from nowhere and he takes the win. Soren, he will be counting his luck after that race as Nico Titch. Now, Nico Titch just stayed out of trouble and finished in a cool 2nd place as Jan Lemmens comes across 3rd with Jim Paris in 4th. Now, Jan Lemmens will be under investigation after this race, so that might promote Jim Paris up the order. As, yes, George Iliev takes 5th. Now, that is a fantastic result if he has come through there with 2 clean stops. Benjamin Hamilton, set to come round in 6th, does actually hit the wall on his last lap, but coming around the final corner, finishes 6th. Pierre Ligio, the creator of the track, finishing in 7th, as we're waiting for just a few more drivers now. Saeed Hassan looks like he is set to take 8th position. Mate Shepard, the fantastic Mate Shepard in 9th, with Barry T, who will be finishing 10th. And then finally, that is the finishing order. So, what a fantastic race. We're disappointed we couldn't bring you the sprint races today, and the of course the B final. But we will be back next time at KZR Indoor Karting. We got our 2nd indoor track of the year, and we'll be returning for more ACK action. But I just want to say thank you, of course, to all the race organisers, for everyone who puts on this race action every week, putting all their effort in. It's been fantastic to see. Thank you to Gabriel, of course, for joining me today, and of course, I want to say thank you to Dunica, who we had some issues with the stream, but fantastic. Thank you so much for coming and providing this broadcast. So we'll see you all in about a week's and a half time as we enter round 7 of the championship and the final end of the championship to see who can take season 2 of ACK. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next time.